a goal of mine and a goal of a lot of people is to kind of develop an AI model that is very generalizable, can be applied to many tasks, kind of more like a human. Like we want to develop an AI that's more like a human. And to me, the way to do that is to look at the brain and kind of see if we can model stuff that we know the brain does in an artificial intelligence agent. And so we need collaboration with neuroscientists. We need kind of crosstalk between these two fields to be able to get towards artificial general intelligence, which is the big buzzword. Hello, my name is Juan Mendez. I'm a student at Williams College, and I'm studying computer science. So last summer, I was lucky enough to be in a research internship at Brown University. I was working in a neuroscience lab, and we were kind of looking at an AI model that was doing a task very similar to what mice were doing in the lab. So they had a task with mice. We redid it with an AI model, and we wanted to learn how the AI model was kind of solving the task. What was it doing? What things was it learning as it was solving the task? And what comparisons could we make with what the mouse was learning? Are they similar? Are they different? And whatnot. I think neuroscience is interesting, mainly because I'm just curious about how it connects to artificial intelligence. Like our brains are so cool, very mysterious. We don't really know what's going on. Kind of a similar case with our AI. And I'm just wondering how we can learn about both systems and compare them and improve them both by research. Over the summer, I used a lot of Python. I was mainly just Python and Jupyter notebooks. There's also like a computing cluster because sometimes training an AI model is a lot of computing power. And so we kind of used a computing cluster API. But it's just Python. Python's very strong. There was a lot of discussion with people in neuroscience, and I'm not so used to working in research with like neuroscience people. And so a lot of data analysis things and visualization was very kind of challenging for me to learn, especially like scientific communication in a non-computer science area. And so it was very informative though, because it's like, how do I communicate science to people who are not exactly computer scientists? What's the best way to visualize these things? It's very important, I think, even if you're not doing interdisciplinary work. A big question that the lab had was if we could use the AI model to find how that AI model is solving the task. If we find something weird that's happening, if it's doing something unintuitive to solve the task, can that allow us to ask new questions about the mouse? Like, are there things about the mouse that we're not even thinking about that the brain kind of optimizes that the AI model clearly does? And so a big kind of usefulness of modeling is like inspiring new experimental questions in the brain. A main technical skill that I took away from the summer was how to visualize things properly, what algorithms to use to generate an appropriate graph, how do I manipulate my data points, dimensionality reduction, these kind of things. And so a lot of visualization and kind of data manipulation. This past summer was really helpful for confirming that computational neuroscience is something that I want to do. I think it was kind of a theory in my head before, and having actual explicit work in it, like talking with neuroscientists, seeing like a collaborative research community, it's like, okay, I'm pretty sure I want to do this. And so I feel more confident doing my application. I'm considering grad school mainly, one, because I want to be a professor. I'm pretty positive on that front. I really like teaching, and I think I've kind of been inspired by teachers in the past. So I think it'd be really cool to be a professor in academia. So PhD is a good goal for that. And also research is fun. I think you can view research as a kind of way of giving back after, having received so much in your education. And so research is fun. It's challenging, but it's fun. And so I just find it cool. Applying to grad school, it's honestly not too bad in my opinion. I think there's some essays like statement of purpose. You have to get some recommendation letters, transcripts and all that. But honestly, it's okay. Deadlines are in December. Just write your essays, ask for your letters, and kind of see what happens. The biggest challenge I think during the application process has been kind of formulating your ideas properly in the essay. And it's hard to balance what you think they want to hear versus what you actually want to say. And I kind of have a tough time just writing in general. And so the essay has been kind of challenging for me, but I'm lucky to have received a lot of support. I think faculty mentors are quite helpful in terms of reviewing and giving you feedback. There's some mentoring groups that I'm a part of that I can kind of share my materials, and they're quite helpful. And so yeah, I believe the Career Center at Williams offers kind of reviews for a statement of purpose. I haven't done it yet, but I will. And I think just hearing advice from faculty, like I've talked to multiple faculty, they kind of give you advice on how grad school is like, what are things to highlight, what are things, that you don't need to highlight. And so just the academic environments, I'm applying to academia, so it's very helpful in general. in terms of figuring out what programs to apply to, I think I really just looked for faculty. You browse faculty pages, they'll tell you what their research interests are. And I kind of just looked at faculty I was interested in, saw what department they were in, and then that's the department I'm going to apply to for that school. And so there's a mix of neuroscience and computer science, depending on the faculty. But the faculty is most important. Some kind of research topics, broad strokes research topics that I'm interested in are computational modeling is a big thing. A lot of neuroscientists use AI models to kind of synthetically see brain behavior in some intelligent agent, right? And compare that with the actual brain. And so computational modeling, I think a lot of data analysis, people always love data analysis. And kind of AI architecture engineering, kind of thinking the foundations of AI, because some people are very stuck in a kind of certain way to do AI. And I'm more interested in people who are thinking about doing AI in a very new way, kind of away from the stuck mindset of what the current methods that work, which are very impressive, but I think there's more that we can do. And yeah, for my senior thesis project, I'm working on applying causal inference techniques to a specific part of neuroscience called connectomics, which is essentially just brain modeling. And causal inference is its whole goal is to determine causal effects on interventions. So for instance, if I say, let me delete this region of the brain, what effect would that have on a disease of interest, right? And the problem is that you can't actually experimentally do that in a human, right? And so you want, from observational data, to be able to estimate the effects of certain interventions, brain deletions and whatnot, on a disease, right? Without actually performing it experimentally. And so progress towards that, we're just getting started, but I think we're trying to find the appropriate metrics to measure, changes in brain connectivity and how those metrics relate to a disease. And so we're kind of looking at a bunch of different metrics, getting the model kind of set up and whatnot. So yeah, so I think we're quite far from AI modeling the human brain. And there's a lot of challenges there because from my understanding, we know very little about how the brain works to begin with, like neuroscientists themselves. And so trying to model that in a computer is far away. But I think science is just slow progress. And I think AI has been very impressive recently. And if we just kind of keep the barrel rolling, we'll get somewhere. We'll see. Understanding how causality works in the brain can be very useful for AI, I think, because a lot of AI is just association. It's a lot of finding patterns in data. And I think what we do is not necessarily finding patterns in our own brain. We kind of think about, what happens if I break the pattern? What happens if I add this to the pattern? And that kind of helps a lot of general learning that humans are able to do. And I think that's related to causal learning that humans do. And so if we want AI to break kind of patterns, be able to form new strategies apart from what we see in the data, we need a kind of causal thinking. What if I do X and what happens then? How can I modify my strategy then? And I think AI still hasn't reached that point yet, but it could. So if you're interested in graduate school, my personal advice would be try research. Look for and apply for research positions. There's things called like REUs, research experiences for undergraduates are very helpful. So over the summer, apply for those. See if you can work with a faculty member at your school. Sometimes they're open to accepting undergrads, and that's very helpful. But all a PhD is just research, and so you got to see if you like that kind of thing. And the only way to do that is just try. Thank you for listening. I think I'm excited to see where AI goes. It's very uncertain, a lot of hype, and I think some of the hype is a little unfounded. I think there's still a lot of limitations to what we think AI can do, and I just hope to contribute to that in any way I can. So yeah, thank you.